What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I want to read you a statement from Senator Bernie Sanders because I think this statement is interesting, as he is saying what he wants Congress to do right now is pass a bill, get something done. But then he also says this when Congress is going on recess for 2 weeks. So this is what he said on Twitter just yesterday. Let me read this to you. In the midst of the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, massive income and wealth inequality, and the attacks on democracy, we cannot forget about the existential threat to our planet from climate change. The recent IPCC report was clear. We have to act boldly and now. That's what he said. Now, does it seem like Congress, or even the Senate for that matter, is acting boldly and now? No. Because what we do know is that Congress hasn't been able to get anything done. He wants to pass climate change, but at the same time, we cannot get a deal on the $10 billion in COVID funding. That's still being negotiated. And the hope was to get that done before they went on recess. But that all just fell apart. And a lot of this is due to Republicans wanting to restore Title 42. A lot of people don't know exactly what that is. Well, Title 42, this allows immigrants to be returned immediately to their home countries, as opposed to allowing them to stay in the United States as a result of our ongoing public health emergency. That's all Title 42 does. Okay? Now, what I want you to really keep in mind here is that right now this isn't where the negotiations stop. We are seeing lawmakers fight for, climate change. The fight's not very strong. We're seeing some push for the $10 billion in COVID funding. Again, they go back and forth. Some are wanting to see Biden's economic agenda. Get that passed and do it now. But again, nobody's really pushing all out for that either. Here's what we do know. What we know is there's a bunch of lawmakers that want to see the wealthy get taxed. We've heard about this over the past, 6 months? Let's tax the wealthy because that's where the money's at. And just so you know, if the wealthy do get taxed, or the super rich or large corporations, right, then there would be more money for social spending and for climate. This would actually open up more doors, because one of the big issues right now that you are seeing from Republicans and from moderates is that they are not open to the idea of passing new bills if it's going to use new money. They want to use old money, money that has been already, allocated to certain things, right? To COVID, to social spending programs, to states. That's what they're discussing. So, bringing in new money by taxing the wealthy is what many Democrats say is the only option to move forward, because without it, there's not enough money to provide for these social spending programs. So, these programs that are currently up for discussion, according to reports, are the increased child tax credits. Now, keep in mind, I did not say child tax credit payments, because when you talk about a child tax credit payment, most people would assume that is the monthly payment that goes out that was $250 to $300 per month. And that's exactly what I think. When they talk about increased child tax credits, they're talking about increasing from $2,000 per child, maybe a little bit higher, maybe to $2,500 or $3,000. So we will see if that actually happens. Another social spending program would be for paid family medical leave. This is one that many Democrats say we need to get on board with, because we are the only country, major country that doesn't have anything. We got nothing. It was discussed of let's provide 12 weeks, then it went down to 8 weeks, then it was said, okay, let's just do 6 weeks. Then they ultimately decided no, 4 weeks was more than enough. So we'll see what happens there. Universal pre-K is still on the table, and this is one that many think will pass eventually. And the reason for this is because, number one, it does get children into a school or education system much sooner, which would allow the parents to go back to work. And one of the things that we have seen over the past 2 years is is mothers are the ones that are normally taking care of their children, and they're the ones staying home, and they're the ones not working. So in order to get moms back into or women back into the workforce, that's one of the ways that they're thinking about doing it, is providing universal pre-K. The other benefit to this is you get 1 to 2 more years of schooling, which means you'd probably be a little bit more developed once you do graduate high school and ultimately do graduate college, if you're fortunate enough to go. So the last thing would be climate spending. These are the provisions that they're looking into. All right. Now, on Thursday, we heard from our favorite senator, Senator Joe Manchin. When I say favorite, well, you can take that as you want. He is blocking a lot of stuff. He has been blocking the Biden's economic agenda for months, right? We've seen that. We've seen he's blocking, pretty much any movement that the Senate has, he pulls them back a little bit, okay? So it is what it is. But here's what he said just the other day. He said, this is regarding climate spending. He says, and I quote, "I have grave concerns about moving too quickly towards an EV-only future." And he's elaborated on this in the past, and the reason he said this is because he's really worried about relying on another country for parts. He says this would be just as bad as relying on another country for things like oil. So what's the difference? Yes, is EV, is it much cleaner? Is it better for our environment? Yes. But is it better for our country? That's up for debate. Because yes, it would still put us in more of a little bit of a situation if we need parts from someplace like China, right? Major concern. So we'll see what happens there. But as of right now, again, what I know is they are working towards certain things, right? Climate's going to be one of them. The $10 billion for COVID funding, that's going to be another one, right? There's a lot of different things. The China competitiveness bill, that's still up there, and I'll address that in just a little bit. But these are all things that right now Congress is working towards, but just very slowly. So one thing I know a lot of people have been asking about is, what is there for them? Is there going to be anything for them? Well, on a federal level, the answer is no. And I got a lot of comments the other day that say, just to speed up the video, that he says no. That you look at all the channels online or all the channels on YouTube, and nobody's talking about additional stimulus checks. Nobody's talking about additional funding for the American people. And it's true. There's nothing right now, okay? And so here are some things that could help. I want to read you this is actually from Yahoo Finance, and we're just going to go through this because there are states that, and again, this isn't an entire list. There's some that I know are missing, but this is a pretty good indication of what is there for you, all right? So let's look at this really quick. So right now, just in California, okay, it says, bearing in mind the state's unusual high gas prices, Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing direct payments of $400 per vehicle, okay? That would be a 2-vehicle maximum. If passed, the checks could arrive by July. Okay. In Georgia, so actually just a few weeks ago, their governor signed a bill that would actually, if you filed both years of 2020 and 2021 taxes, okay? Again, remember, even though we're in 2022, you would have filed for 2021, right? So if you file both of these, you can receive $250 as an individual, $375 as head of household, and $500 if you're married, filing jointly. In Hawaii, if I could actually highlight, there you go. So in January, their governor proposed sending $100 refunds to each taxpayer and their dependents, okay? And their dependents. Keep that in mind. Now, this would actually put about $110 million back into the state's economy. In Idaho, they're talking about a tax rebate bill for each taxpayer that would either receive $75 or 12% of their 2020 Idaho income tax return, whichever is greater. Okay, that's in Idaho. In Indiana, and this according to the Indianapolis Star, residents will receive $125 each if they file after they file their 2002 taxes due to high projected tax revenue. My guess is that is supposed to be A2, so 2021 taxes, right? In Maine, they are claiming that Maine residents will spend $560 more in gas. Okay, there you go. They are right there, wants $850 as part of the state's budget bill. I know for Maine, they discussed $850, but at the same time, I believe the last report that I read just the other day said only $500. So I think it started at $850 and now it's dropped to $500. In Minnesota, his plan is to spend the state's budget surplus. Includes proposal to issue income tax rebate checks of $1,000 per couple. I also believe it is $500 for an individual. Doesn't say that here though. New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy was up for re-election. Election last year, New Jersey legislature included cash checks of up to $500 for about 1 million families in its budget. New Mexico, they want to provide $250 rebate checks to all individuals, $500 for married couples. These rebates are like federal government stimulus checks in that they have income limits. Single filers with income up to $75,000 and couples up to $150,000. In New York, so through a $1 billion property tax rebate program, an average benefit of around $970 for homeowners outside of New York City is being proposed by Governor Hochul. Now, what you need to keep in mind again with this is you have to own property. And this is the hard part, and I know a lot of people absolutely hate this, but there are packages, there are proposals right now that are being discussed that you have to own assets. You have to own a car to get the tax benefit, or you have to own a car to get the potential cash card, right? To put gas into your car. Even though some people use gas for lawnmowers, for other things as well, for bikes, right? For motorcycles, but you have to own a car. Interesting. But then this one right here in New York, you have to own a piece of property to get part of this benefit. And again, I know with property taxes and everything like that, makes sense, but at the same time, there's other people out there that are hurting and that don't have a car or a piece of property. And then in Virginia, okay, says the details haven't been decided yet as to the amounts, but it's expected that every individual is going to receive a rebate check between $250 or $300, or if you're married, $500 to $600 per married couple. So that's what they're discussing at this time. And again, there's a lot of things that are still being proposed and discussed. And my expectation is we're going to see these kind of linger for the next few months, is until we start to see more money go out to the states and tackle all their different plans and objectives. I don't think a lot of states are going to come out and be like, okay, let's put $100 million or $1 billion back into our residents' pockets through a stimulus check program. So just keep that in mind, is we could still see this go on and on for the next few months. So as we get more information there, I promise I will fill you in on those updates as soon as we get them. Now, let's talk about the semiconductor shortage and what Congress plans to do about it. Well, this is what I was addressing when it comes to that competitiveness bill. The White House right now wants about $52 billion in government subsidies for semiconductor production. Now, both the House and the Senate, they have passed their own bills. They passed in both, but it's not the same bill. That's the issue. So actually on Thursday, both the House and Senate, they've chosen their negotiators to hammer out this bill. And the expectation is they want to have some type of an agreement on this within the next couple of weeks. Get a little bit closer, then they can discuss it with both the House and the Senate, and see who's really on board with this and if there's too many objections. So we'll see what happens there. Now, the last thing I want to do right now is talk about COVID. And honestly, this is the last thing I want to talk about because people have been talking about this for the past 2 years. Nobody wants to hear about this. But here's the issue. According to health experts, we are bound to see an increase in COVID cases. Now, even though this is going to happen, many say that this is not necessarily going to be bad. This is likely the pathway that we have to take in order to get back to normal. And even Dr. Anthony Fauci, he had this to say. He says, I think without a doubt that we are going to see a turnaround as people get out more and into the inside venues without masks. That's going to be certainly resulting in infections, even in people who are vaccinated. Now, I want to be very clear on this. It doesn't matter if you are vaccinated or not. It doesn't matter if you have a booster shot or not. You are still, able to contract COVID. Now, are your symptoms as severe? According to reports and data, no. That's really the only difference. But you can still contract COVID. You can still spread it. It's just you may not see the symptoms, and they may not be as severe as somebody that doesn't have the vaccine or is not up to date on their booster. So that's really it. But good news is, experts believe that this is the course and the kind of the pathway that we have to take. We have to take this direction. So good news is that we're on our way. We're going to take this direction. We're going to take this path, and we're going to see what happens as a result. So that's what we know as of right now. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.